Hi, good day. How you doing? I'm Ken Lim, an advisory systems engineer working out of the Dell EMC Northern California SE team. I'm taking the opportunity to create this instructional video to accomplish two goals. Number one, to contribute back to the open source community by demonstrating how to automate the deployment of this free-to-use Dell EMC ECS object storage. Take note, this is the community edition that's available online for anyone to try it out, in a free and frictionless way. The second goal I have is to complete my submission for the Operation Delta infrastructure automation use case project. This video will demonstrate my MVP deployment, MVP otherwise known as minimum viable product, and I hope this video will be a good reference for anyone that's trying to learn how to automate the provisioning of ECS. Now let's go to the GitHub page. I will include a link to this page at the bottom of the video description, for the ease of access. Let's go through this page here and look at, some of the README details. I think the number one key point to take note of is, at the quick start guide area, whereby we are talking about the minimum hardware requirements. Take note this applies, when it comes to physical hardware or, VMware EXX configuration. For the purpose of this demo, I'll just stick with, the minimum requirements because, I have limited resources in the lab. And at the same time, my choice of the deployment scenario or solution will be from a prepackaged VMware OVA. I find this to be the most simplified way to get a ECS demo going for my customers. So yeah, this is my deployment scenario of choice. So subsequently, you can see that there's a link right here that shows the release page on GitHub for the OVA download links. I'll recommend that just go for the latest one that's available, that is 3.1.0.2, and leverage this download as the OVA import onto your vSphere, which I'll demonstrate later on. Next, let's go to the vSphere client. Right here, you can see that in my vSphere client, I can see the ESX servers in the NorCal lab. Let me just pick any one of the servers available, the CSX server over here. Once you're onto a server, click Actions and select Deploy OVAF template. With this OVAF template, you have the choice to either point the destination as a online page, or even let's say object store, or even at the local file, which is what we'll choose here. Go ahead and pick the actual OVA that you downloaded earlier on from GitHub. Yes, I got it here. Click Open, and then click Next. So this part onwards is pretty straightforward. You get to pick which location you want to have this VMDK files all installed at. We have multiple folders within the NorCal SE team, so I'll just pick my name over here. From there, I'll pick which ESX server that I want to run this on, and you start to validate the actual OVA file. Over here, it shows that the OVA file has already been validated, and they'll ask us to manually verify the template details in terms of what should be provisioned, what's the size of the actual image. Click Next, and it actually asks you to pick what's the local storage that you'll pick for the deployment of this VM. So look at what's the available data stores you have in your environment. It can be a SAN connected one, such as this VNX here, or it can be the actual local drive on the server itself. Let's just, for the sake of this demo, let's just pick the local drive. And from here, you have to understand and know, what's the network that you plan to deploy this VM in. In our case, I already reserved a static address within the .32 subnet, so I'll just go for this guy. And once this is done, they'll start to deploy the OVA into actual working VM. On vSphere, you will be able to see the actual status of the deployment task. Let me just enlarge it here for your viewing. And you can see right now we're at around 51, 52% complete for the deployment. Right now you can actually see that the OVF template has been successfully imported and deployed. So let's just look through the settings of the VM before we attempt to power it up. So let's go to actions and edit settings. So you can see that it shows 4 CPU, memory of 2 GB, hard disk, and so on. And if you recall the earlier point I was making on the minimum requirements, it shows that we recommend, or actually the minimum requirement for ECS is at least 16 GB. So let's revise this memory settings to 16 GB. If you don't do this now, during the initial parts of the deployment, it will fail because there's not enough memory to run everything. So I suggest doing this early. The network adapter is pointing to the right VLAN. I think pretty much everything is okay. There is a primary hard disk for the ECS binaries, as well as secondary hard disk for the actual data drives. We will look more into this once we powered up the VM. So for now, let's click OK. Shows that the memory now is 16 GB. And let's try to power this boy up. Power on. Now that the VM has powered up, let's try to log in first. So log in with admin. Password change with a capital C. Me, M-E, with a capital M. Here, you're in. Let's do a quick ls to see where we are. Default folder within localhost. Let's just look at the path as well. Okay, there is a path for home/admin/bin. Okay, that's the right one. Cool. So let's take a look at the directory now. Let's go to the ECS Community Edition directory. Cool. And you can see that there is a deploy.yaml file right over there. Let's do a VI and take a look at it. Cool. So this YAML file basically contains all the necessary, strings you need to append in order to deploy this ECS in an automated fashion within the your ESX environment. So you have lines such as install node with the IP addresses, and the passwords and stuff which I'll leave as default. But the key goal here, right, is to be able to populate this YAML file with the right IP addresses, and details such as DNS servers, NTP time servers, that's stated over here as well. And once you get this all populated in the correct fashion, we'll actually run this deploy.yaml file, and it automates the entire process of setting up ECS within the VM itself. So I've just edited the deploy.yaml file. You can see that I've updated the install node IP addresses here. This will be the actual IP address reflected on vSphere .89. I've also updated the DNS servers as well as NTP servers, for the time as well as for the FQD and resolution. Subsequently, another key area that I updated, right, is also what we call the ECS block device, the CTL name. Okay, by default it shows a VDA, which is not really there's no such, it's undefined, it's not really there. So if you do ls block or lsb blk, right, on the Linux console, you show the list of drives that you have. SDB is the 104 GB additional hard drive, that is going to be used as the object store data drive. So you need to update this to SDB to ensure that the YAML file will be able to deploy successfully. And you'll see that there's another area here that you need to update the local IP address. as well as the SDP. Now that I have updated the YAML file, I am going through the run for the YAML file, and starting the YAML file, it actually goes through the initial agreement for the limited use software license agreement. Let's just scroll through this, and at the end of it, when you're done with it, just say yes to accept it, and the runbook will continue to run whatever was configured earlier on. There's some problem here. Let me try to resolve it. So I've checked out vSphere to get the right VLAN connection connected to this VM. So let's give it another go and see how it goes. Updating the stuff I populated in, creating the data container. We'll come back to here in a short while. You can see that it's able to ping the IP address that I've assigned to it, so the network connectivity has been fixed. And the playbook took 11 seconds to configure all the necessary IP connections. So now, since the deploy.yaml has been done and the OS or this Linux OS has been configured with all the right network addresses as well as assignment, let's go ahead and deploy the ECS itself, or the configuration of ECS on this VM. So what I'll do is, for this OPA, I'll type step 1. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, I'll come back to this. Well, at this stage, you can see that the runbook has completed, even though it shows that, it took 1 second here. It actually went through quite a few tasks. So I would say that the whole playbook probably took around within 2 minutes, to finish the whole thing. And this is a lot faster compared to what I did previously in a manual fashion. Now that the playbook has finished running completely, give it a few minutes, for all the ECS APIs to start up, and then try to enter the IP address, in this case .89, onto your browser, and let's try to log in right now. We'll be using root with the default password, change me. Let's see. Yay! First login, first boot up. You see all the wizards to go through the steps to set up, and right now they're asking us to change the password. Okay, let's log in again because we just changed the password. And ta-da! You have a fully working single node ECS Community Edition online. Thank you for viewing this video. I hope that it has been helpful, and feel free to leave any questions in the comment section if you have any face any roadblocks or any problems. Have a good day.